You already know the rule. Roses need full sun, 6 to 8 hours minimum. Break that rule and you get weak growth, bare canes, and a plant that barely bothers to bloom. Every gardening guide says the same thing, and for most roses, they're right. So how do some of the most spectacular rose gardens in the world grow against north-facing walls? Under oak trees? In spots that see afternoon shadow for half the day? Because the gardeners who planted them know about these 7 roses. Varieties bred or shaped by centuries of survival. For exactly this. If your yard doesn't get full sun, most roses will fail. But these won't. Quick note before we begin. Shade-tolerant doesn't mean no light at all. Every rose here needs a minimum of 4 to 5 hours of direct sun. Think morning sun with afternoon cover, or dappled light filtering through a tall tree. In those spots, some of these actually perform better than they would in full sun. Partial shade keeps pale blooms from washing out and extends how long each flower lasts. Give them rich, well-drained soil and enough airflow, and they'll deliver. Now let's get into the roses. Number 7. Zephirine Drouhin. This bourbon rose has been the go-to climber for shady spots since 1868, and in nearly 160 years, nobody has found a reason to stop recommending it. It handles lower light because it's vigorous enough to work hard even without full sun. And it's the most reliable answer for a north-facing wall that most gardeners would write off completely. The blooms are a deep, vibrant cerise pink in semi-double clusters, and in low light that color practically glows. The fragrance is powerful and fruity, a strong hit of raspberry that carries well beyond the plant itself, which is why it's best positioned near a door, a gate, or anywhere people actually walk past and can stop to take it in. It's a repeat bloomer, running from late spring through to first frost, giving you months of color rather than a single early flush. Its standout feature for a climbing rose, it's almost completely thornless. That alone makes it worth serious consideration. Training it, pruning it, walking past it, none of it costs you skin. As a vigorous climber, it can reach 12 to 15 feet, which means it's built to cover a fence, a pergola, or a wall with real presence. The gotcha. That vigor demands space and management. And like any rose in a shadier position, it's prone to black spot and mildew if airflow is restricted. So give it room to breathe and don't crowd it. Number 6, Eustacia Vye. This David Austin English rose is one of Austin's own top picks for shadier gardens, and it was bred from the start with disease resistance as a primary goal, which matters more in lower light conditions where air circulation is reduced and moisture lingers on foliage longer. The blooms are ruffled rosettes in soft apricot pink with deeper coral tones at the center that fade outward toward the petal edges, all carried on elegant red-tinged stems. The overall effect is warm and layered, and in partial shade, those soft tones hold rather than bleaching out the way they might in harsh afternoon sun. The fragrance is strong and fruity, present enough that you'll notice it from a few feet away. It forms a strong, bushy shrub around 4 feet tall, and as a repeat bloomer, it provides continuous color through the season, rather than one concentrated show. The gotcha. It was introduced in 2019. The early results across gardens and climates are genuinely excellent, but it hasn't been field tested across decades the way the older varieties on this list have. If you want proven multi-generational performance, the track record here is still being written. Number 5, Hansa. Hansa is a rugosa rose. If you've got a tough spot, partial shade, poor soil, coastal conditions, hard winters, this is the variety that won't blink. Rugosas as a group are among the most resilient roses in existence, and Hansa is one of the best of them. The flowers are large doubles in a bold magenta purple, and the fragrance is deep and spicy with a distinct clove note that sets it apart from the sweeter scent of most garden roses. The foliage is crinkled and leathery, distinctive and naturally disease-resistant in a way that most modern roses achieve only with careful management. It blooms from early summer through to frost. Skip deadheading in late season, and it produces large, bright red rose hips that look spectacular against autumn foliage and carry visual interest well into winter while feeding birds at the same time. Hardy from Zone 3 to Zone 8. Dense shrub, 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. The gotcha. That size and density is the whole point of the plant. It's built for an informal flowering hedge or a naturalistic border with room to spread. not a formal bed where you need clean edges and contained habits. Go in knowing what it is. Number 4, the fairy. The fairy is a polyantha rose that's been a garden staple since 1932, and its reputation comes down to one thing: sheer, relentless volume of blooms. If you want maximum flower coverage in a partial shade spot, nothing on this list competes with it. It's a compact, spreading shrub, 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, with small, glossy, bright green leaves and enormous sprays of tiny button pink double flowers. The scale of each spray is what catches people off guard. A single stem carries so many flowers, it looks like a full bouquet. Those clusters cover the plant from early summer to the first hard frost, making it one of the longest blooming roses available regardless of light level. The soft pink color holds beautifully in partial shade and actually fades faster in full blazing sun. So a partially shaded spot genuinely suits it. Needs just 4 to 6 hours. Strong disease resistance. Highly consistent. The gotcha: there's almost no fragrance. For some gardeners, that's a deal breaker. If scent is your primary reason for growing roses, this one won't deliver. But if you want a healthy, compact, endlessly blooming rose that works in a difficult spot, it's hard to beat. Number 3, Maiden's Blush. Maiden's Blush is an alba rose, and alba roses have been shade-tolerant by nature for centuries. Garden historians trace this cultivar back to the 14th or 15th century, and the family itself goes back even further. It can genuinely be grown against a north-facing wall, which puts it in a category very few roses occupy. It's a once bloomer, and it channels everything into one spectacular show in late spring or early summer. The bush covers itself in full, densely petaled blush pink blooms that fade to creamy white at the petal edges. The color and form together create that kind of ghostly, romantic beauty that photographs look staged, but in person stops people in their tracks. The fragrance is strong, classic old rose, and it carries across the garden rather than staying close to the plant. Gray-green foliage, nearly thornless canes, can reach 8 feet and be trained as a short climber if you want vertical coverage on a shady wall. Hardy from Zone 3 to Zone 9 with legendary disease resistance. This is a plant that survives and keeps surviving. The gotcha: it blooms once a year. That show is genuinely memorable, and for many gardeners, it justifies every inch of garden space. But when it's over until next season. So pair it with other plants that carry the summer. Number 2, Carefree Delight. Bred in the early 90s, Carefree Delight was designed from the start to be low effort, tough, healthy, and continuously covered in flowers from the time it wakes up in spring to the time the season shuts it down. It delivers on all 3 without requiring much from you in return. It's a spreading shrub, 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide, producing nonstop clusters of single pink flowers with clean white centers and bright yellow stamens that pollinators can't leave alone. The individual flowers are simple, but the volume and density of the clusters is what makes the plant striking. It's self-cleaning, meaning spent petals drop off on their own, so deadheading is something you can choose to do rather than something you have to. Extremely disease-resistant, glossy foliage that stays clean and healthy through the season. Thrives in partial shade without sulking or reducing flower production noticeably. The gotcha: it's a ground cover rose. That low, spreading, wide-growing habit is the plant's nature, ideal for a slope, a border edge, or a large open area where you want horizontal coverage. It's not an upright garden rose, and if you plant it expecting that, it'll confuse you. Know what you're planting and put it somewhere. That habit is an asset. Number 1, Gertrude Jekyll. The World Federation of Rose Societies voted it the world's favorite rose. That's not marketing. That's the global rose community making a statement. And if you've ever caught its fragrance on a still summer evening, you understand exactly why. Gertrude Jekyll carries a powerful, perfectly balanced old rose scent, considered one of the finest in the entire rose world. People plant this rose specifically for the perfume, and the blooms are almost a bonus. Almost. Because the flowers are large, perfectly formed rosettes in a rich, glowing pink, full and deeply cupped, the kind of bloom that defines what most people picture when they imagine a rose. It's a prolific repeat bloomer from late spring right through to frost, producing flush after flush rather than spending itself in one early show. That pink deepens and warms in partial shade in a way it doesn't quite manage in full sun, which gives it an advantage in lower light gardens that most people don't expect going in. It thrives on as little as 4 hours of sun a day and performs well in every aspect, north, south, east, or west. As a shrub, it builds to around 5 feet. Train it as a climber and it can reach 8 feet or more, which gives you options depending on what your space calls for. For fragrance, beauty, adaptability, and the kind of track record that earns a world title, Gertrude Jekyll is the rose you build a shade garden around. I'd love to hear from you. Do you grow any of these roses in the shade? Or do you have another favorite shade-tolerant variety you want to share with everyone? Let me know in the comments below. Your experience could be the one thing that helps another gardener finally succeed in that tricky, shady spot. If you're trying to grow roses in less than perfect conditions, you just have to pick the right ones. These are the ones I trust. If this helped you figure out which rose belongs in that corner of your yard, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. By working with your conditions instead of fighting them, you can turn a dark, forgotten corner into a stunning focal point of color and fragrance. Thank you for watching. Until next time, happy gardening.